Welcome, everybody, to the 11th episode, I believe now, of the PBMED podcast. I'm your co-host. No,
You are the host.
I'm the host. I'm the host. Dang it, Brent.
I'm the co-host. You're
Brent
the host.
is the co-host. I'm here with my co-host, Brent, for episode 11. What's new, Brent?
Nothing much. We took a week off from putting out podcast.
Yeah, feels like it's been a little bit.
It does. It feels like it's been a long time, but it's only been just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You were still busy pumping out Perseus review and Franklin C45 review.
Yeah, it was. I was under pressure there for a second. They came like back to back. At least the restocking of the C45. So it was a lot of work there. Also, we're coming at you live from my new dissection / recording studio here. I built this in my basement, in my crawl space, so that I could work a little bit more from home and do some dissection. So how'd I do, Brent?
Yeah, it looks great. You sent me some pictures early on in the process where it was just unpainted boards and the top wasn't covered like it is now. It's nice. I'm glad it's a relatively warm night for us.
Yeah, it's
down
like it's
here.
a little chilly down here.
It's like I think outside it's like 55 right now, and it just with a jacket on, it feels perfectly fine.
Yeah, it comes and goes in North Carolina, and when I've been working down here, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so cold, but it's coming together. The walls are like zip tied together, and like it's just kind of a hodgepodge so that I can take it out when I move in like a couple of months or so. So
nobody tell Dustin's landlord that this exists.
I did not get it approved. It's also it's definitely not up to code. You can't have wood in crawl spaces like this, wood structures in North Carolina for mold. Also probably termites. We have an annual termite inspection coming up, so we're on limited time here. Yeah, maybe
hopefully
we
he
can get back
gives you
to the episode
notice before they send the termite inspectors.
We also we haven't played yet, but Brent and I started the Bull City Pickleball League.
Yes.
We had the draft last week. Both drafted very well.
Both went to premier level.
We both made the cut. Yeah, they had like 100 or some people in there.
They did, yeah.
They had the top 36 in the top, Premier League. And then if you didn't make the Premier League, they let you opt out. But Brent went number 5 overall. Congrats, Brent.
Yeah, thank you.
How do you feel about that?
I went a couple of spots higher than I thought I was going to go, honestly, just judging by the folks that we had in the draft. Number 1 and number 2 made a lot of sense. I mean, 𝒂𝒊𝒏, you should definitely draft him number 1 overall. Like, if you don't, there's something wrong with you. And actually, Tyler Hansborough drafted him number 1 on his team. And then number 2 went the pickleball doctor, Noah Sarabin, Ben Johns' physical therapist. And then 3 was Ryan Gilbert, a pickleball journeyman, as he calls himself. All 3 of those guys have played pro.
I've seen him on YouTube. Yeah, I've watched him and his brother on YouTube play like... I forget who, but I watched him last year or 2 years ago or something on YouTube play.
Yeah, I think like last year and the year prior, he was making some pretty deep runs and like especially APP stuff. I think he did do some main draw PPA as well. So to go number 5 when the top 3 guys all were former pro level players, makes me feel pretty good.
Who was 4? I can't remember.
Matt Nesbitt.
Oh yeah. Matt played. He's a lefty. Man, he's wild. He played on the national championship team for UNC. Good as they get. And then there's Brent. Huge drop off. Just
to
number 5. I went number 32 overall, so I made the cut. Like
top 36.
We're getting to that last line, and my wife, we watched the draft live, and my wife was like, "Are you going to get drafted?" And I was like,
"Yes, baby. Don't worry about it. I'm definitely going to get drafted."
My stomach is like, "Oh." Like, I might not. I got permission to play on Thursday nights for nothing. It's like, what am I going to do?
I had to have that conversation for nothing.
But they do only pick 4. Brent and I actually, we got drafted to the same team. Coincidentally, I think.
We did.
And they only pick 4 people a night to play. And I was number 6 on our team. So I'll probably not play. I don't know if he's going to rotate or not, or how that works.
I don't know.
It's just like the best 4 that can play.
I've heard different strategies from different captains. Like I was talking to, I played with Jimmy earlier today, who's one of the captains of the team, and he said he was going to try to play all of his guys.
He said that. He's a nice guy, though.
He is. He's a super nice guy. I don't know if that's going to be...
Tournament time's different, but like in league, not tournament, not in season.
Yes,
season play.
Exactly. Like when it's rec, when it's your dupers on the line and you've got standings. It makes it hard to play everybody kind of evenly. But that was his plan. Yeah. I'm not sure what our captain's gonna do, but
Well, we've seen who's playing
see.
Thursday. It's not me. It's Brent. But I'll show up and I'll show up and support you, Brent. I might bring my son. We'll cheer you on.
Yeah, we could live stream 1 week from there.
Yeah, that'd be cool actually. Before we do paddles, we do have a different item of review this week. I had some earlier, but Brent,
A very different item.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Steven from STS Pickleball, we're all part of this big Discord group, me, the different reviewers and whatever. And Steven from STS Pickleball, his main thing is he owns a chocolate company.
Just so odd. Like cool, but so odd.
Yeah. So most of the people, they're like tech guys. They make videos and whatever full time. And then there's me, and then there's Steven. He's like, I make chocolate. And it's like, oh, shoot. So like a bunch of us ordered this chocolate. I think it's called Stone Grinds. Is that what it says?
That's
right?
how I would say it, yeah.
I just picked the 2 flavors that I thought I'd like: almond butter and black lava salt and cappuccino. Mm-hmm. Did you try them? You tried them both already?
I did try them both. So I'm no chocolate connoisseur. Whoop, here we go.
Things in the way.
Yeah. I'm no chocolate connoisseur, but these are seemingly very fancy chocolates. Like the packaging themselves is just seems like a lot of care went into packaging. And I typically prefer like a more of a milk chocolate kind of guy. I don't really like dark chocolates. So you did good in that you got both ends of the spectrum here. You got a more milk chocolate, which is cappuccino, and then you got this 80%, which is the almond butter and black lava salts.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a chocolate connoisseur. I liked them both. I was surprised I would like the 80%. I'm going to say cacao on that.
I don't know how to say that.
Cacao.
Yeah.
STS,
the
Steven,
connoisseurs can
correct
let us
us.
know. Yeah, tell us.
I actually like that one, the 80% dark chocolate, more than I thought I would. It is pretty smooth for a dark chocolate. Usually they come off pretty bitter, at least the dark chocolates that I've had from the mass market, like Hershey's and Dove or whoever else makes chocolate. Typically comes off a little bitter. I didn't really get that from this one. Very smooth.
That was my first thought. I was like, I had that same kind. And I was like, ooh, smooth. I was like,
right?
Dang, okay.
Yeah. And then the cappuccino, which is 55% cacao, more of a milk chocolate, more of what I typically prefer. So it's like it was having a little bit of coffee with some milk chocolate. It was a good pairing, I thought. And it looks like it's won some awards.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hopped on his website, and he's won like 40 international awards for chocolate, like in New York and San Francisco and even in Italy. So, I mean, it's like freaking legit. It's fancy chocolate. It's not like
it is fancy
buy
chocolate.
like at the gas station chocolate. A handful of the reviewers bought some. So I wish I would have thought of this earlier, but I threw up a poll on our little Discord. And I made, just to see for the people who ordered, asked what they thought. I was like, is it your new main? Like, that was the best option. I was like, will it be in your regular bag? Second choice.
Is it in your paddle rotation?
Yeah, it's like
your chocolate
you
rotation?
would eat it and be fine with it.
Would you take it to a tournament?
Yeah, if you're into it, maybe, if you want the thing, and then it overhyped was the worst answer. So of the 5 people that I got to vote before this started, because I was just like, I thought of it last minute. So 4 people are choosing the STS Chocolate as their new main.
Oh, new main chocolate.
New week, new main chocolate. But one said overhyped.
Oh,
I don't know who said overhyped.
It's an anonymous poll, it sounds like.
Ooh,
or maybe it should be.
No. Should. I'll post it below, maybe.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, somebody said it's overhyped, but I thought it was good.
I thought it was good too.
Yeah, it's fancy chocolate. But
I know a lot more about pickleball paddles than I do about chocolate, though. So
it's fun though.
So grain of salt with that.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll give it a try. It's cool stuff. And a lot of flavors on there.
Yeah, and it just adds to the whole like windy road that brings people to pickleball too. Like,
yeah, it's funny.
Definitely all walks of life come to pickleball. Like, I'm a pharmacist. You're a med student, going to be a doctor soon. You got Steven with STS that makes chocolate. You got all sorts of occupations that come here, which makes it even more fun. Yeah,
that's why it's as popular as it is, I guess.
Yeah.
It's cool to see people's backstory.
It is. Yeah.
Are we ready for paddles? We don't have like a ton of new paddles. We've got some that we've tested, and then we've got some first looks that just got here, and then we've got some power paddle rankings from some of our more popular paddles to kind of help people differentiate between all these new releases, of which there are some really good paddles. So we've got our Joola Pro IVs, which just came out. I put out a review of it last week, and so did a lot of people. Right now, they just have the Perseus, the elongated shape in the 16 and the 14. And they also have the Agassi, which we only got the 16. So let's do the Joola Pro IV Perseuses, and then we'll go to the Agassi.
Okay.
What do you think of them, Brent?
Yeah, so I had been playing with the Franklin C45 for about a week before I got the Perseus Persei.
The Persei,
plural
Perseus.
The two Persei,
yeah.
And so I had kind of gotten used to this more 14 millimeter feel, a little bit of dwell time, but not a ton. And then I switched from playing with that for a few games to the Perseus 16, and it was very different feel of it.
Yeah.
So the Perseus 16 to me had really good dwell time on it. It felt like it kind of sunk in a bit.
Yeah.
It felt really powerful. Spin was great on it. It was a little on the heavier side for me, stock, as far as like swing weight goes.
I know you like your kind of mid to high teens.
Mid to high teens. 120 is about as high as I want to go. Yeah. So that was the first thing that I noticed about that, especially coming from the Franklin C45. That it's
which
so
is
light
crazy light
and maneuverable. And it's a hybrid shape too, so it makes it more maneuverable. But yeah, the Perseus 16, it just had maybe a little too much juice for me, too much power, just like plow through power. Whereas like when I would the first serve I hit with it, it sunk into the face and just zoof.
Yeah, John stopped me when, like, after you guys played, and he's like, "Did he tell you about his first serve?" When he hit the serve the first time,
bad.
And he's like, and he's like laughing about it.
Because the C45, I don't know, like
the plow through's not high on it.
It's not high, and it doesn't sink in nearly as much as it does on the 16 Perseus.
It's going to hold it and launch it later too. So it's going to be hotter on your velocity, but also go higher. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and I noticed that on the first serve because I've been having to kind of put a little bit more on my serves and swing a little more up with the Franklin, and I basically did that same motion with that, and it's like
gone.
So for me, at least, the 16 had a little too much power. For me, and maybe it was just the dwell and the launching was a little too high from what I had kind of gotten used to with the Franklin. The 14 though, that's my jam. I like that a lot.
I'm so surprised by that.
It is. It surprised me too.
Yeah.
I did not expect to like the Perseus 14 as much as I do.
You almost always like 16 millimeter paddles, from what I can think of. I mean, you like the C45, and other than that, was there another 14 you've kind of been drawn to in the past?
The C45 was kind of the anomaly and the exception. I mean, the Ripple, but that's also an anomaly and exception.
And that's like the only thickness it had.
It was the only one, and the composition on that made the ball sink in pretty well too.
Yeah, it's strange paddle. Yeah, that's an layer for sure.
Yeah, so the 14 kind of struck the 14 Perseus kind of struck a good balance between the really sink in dwell feeling of the 16 and the not as much as the Franklin C45. That's kind of like I would put the Perseus 14 right in the middle of those two as far as like feel off the paddle face. Like the amount of dwell time.
So you're saying 16 is highest dwell time, then the 14 Perseus, then the C45.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I gotcha.
And I didn't enjoy the 14 a ton at first. Like the first game I played with it, I was like, oh, this maybe has too much power as well, and it might have too much pop too.
Yeah.
But I played with it more, and I enjoy the softer feel on it versus the Franklin C45.
Interesting. Yeah, so this is so funny. You'll hear Brent and I probably talk a lot today about those paddles in particular, the Joola Pro IVs and the C45, because I think
that's mainly what we've been playing with lately.
We've been playing with those a lot.
Yeah.
Because we talked especially a lot about Brent, who's doing the. Oh, I didn't tell you. I'm doing the pro qualifiers.
Are you?
Too. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I'm gonna.
Are you
Brent
signed
better
up?
hope he doesn't meet me in the pro qualifiers.
Are you signed up yet?
No.
Okay. I was about to say I didn't see your name on there.
You better just keep a lookout. Anyways, so Brent and I both, gosh dang it, are freaking signing up for the pro qualifiers. But before that, it was just him. And you need a UPA certified paddle for that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of was like a tough wading waters for if you want a nice power paddle, really.
Yeah.
And then all at once, kind of the C45 and the Joola Pro IVs would just pop onto the scene, and I think they really like took the power game, besides the paddle techs, which are just kind of totally different.
Yeah.
Took the power game up to a whole new level. And so then it was like, oh, you got these two awesome options to choose from if you want like a Gen 3 soft feeling power paddle. But anyways, yes.
Yeah, what did you think of the Perseus
paddles? I wasn't surprised a ton, honestly. I played a lot with the 3S.
I think that might be why I was more surprised, because I only played maybe 30 minutes with the 3S ever.
Yeah, you did the review crew episode. Did we publish that?
We did publish that.
Did we?
One.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was in the top 5 paddles from my last year from 2024.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so we published that. But I had played with the 3S a lot before that, so it's not wildly different, but it's familiar. But the 3S was like, whoa, that's like for sure. That's what a lot of people associate with Gen 3 foam paddles, was that kind of hollow feel, the thud, the boom, boom. This was like toned the hollow feel down a little bit. It's a little bit more full, but you still get that hint of like, not even hint, I'd say like you get a still decent amount of like that foamy feel. A little bit more heavy, a little bit more plow through. Probably just because it's bulkier.
Yeah.
But a very familiar feel that I liked. I really liked the 16. It was surprising to me going from the 16 to the 14, the pop difference and the controllability.
Okay.
Like for me, I had a hard time controlling the 14. And that's even going from the Perseus 16 and the Franklin C45 to the Perseus 14, the Pro 4. I just wasn't jiving with it.
Okay.
But it probably would just take more time. But I liked the plow through power. I typically like high plow through and lower pop, which makes the C45 a little anomaly for me, or why I like it so much. But it wasn't terribly surprising. But I do think it's a good improvement from the 3S in terms of fullness, sweet spot, plow through.
Yeah.
Durability, who knows? Who knows,
right? Yeah. I don't think anybody's had it for more than probably 3 weeks at this point. And you're right, that the 3S, one of my gripes about the 3S from the limited time I played with it was that hollow feel. Yeah. I just didn't enjoy that, the way it came off and the way it felt. It just wasn't a good feeling. And these don't have nearly as much of that hollow feel. They feel more dense. They feel more solid. Again, I was surprised with the 14 as well, because it does have higher pop, which I generally don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Because I get in trouble with that. But for some reason, that one's working for me right now.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a guy who comes from like the Pulse S.
I know.
The Pulse S is like his background. So this is interesting for me, that how much Brent likes both the C45 and it sounds like maybe, not that we're necessarily comparing, but we might as well compare it.
Yeah.
Like now would you say that you prefer the Perseus 14 over the C45?
I think, yes. I prefer the Perseus 14 over the C45 with like an asterisk there. I need to drill. I don't think I've drilled yet with the 14. I need to dial in my drops. That's the one thing right now that's not where I want it to be with the 14.
Those are bad with Brent. He's bad at drops.
Oh, yeah.
This
terrible.
Is weakness.
Yeah. So I usually have... contrary to what Dustin just said, usually have pretty good drops as far as like a top spin, just driving down drop.
Adequate.
And the C45, I was able to hit really nice, just dipping drops and drips with that. The Perseus 14, I'm sending them a little higher than what I want. They're going a little deeper, so they're not penetrating and dipping as much as I want. So I think that's a me issue.
Sounds like a you problem.
It's a me problem.
It does sound like a you problem.
But I really like the feel of the Perseus 14 better than the C45. It feels a little softer, a little plusher, a little more forgiving. The C45, to me, I get more feedback than I really enjoy. I don't have quite enough plow through. Even weighted up to like 8.3, 8.4. I feel like I have to really like swing pretty hard on like serve returns to get the ball back deep, whereas the Perseus 14, I don't have to put as much effort in, and my shoulder's not hurting right now, and it was starting to hurt after playing with the C45. I think it's the effort and probably mostly the effort. I don't want to say it's the feedback, because there's not a ton of feedback in the C45 if you weight it up, but there's more than the Perseus.
Yeah, the Perseus is quite dampening.
Yeah.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
And I'll say most people will probably, if you don't like heavy paddles, I mean, the 16 millimeter is getting up there. Mine was like 8.2 or something like that stock weight, maybe more. And I've heard of people having them higher.
Yeah.
And it like starts at like a swing out of 120. So like it's in the 120s already. The 14 is a much more manageable weight.
It is.
So if you can get used to that, then it's going to be a very pleasant paddle for people. The C45 is going to be your quick paddle.
It is. You feel
it's
so
going to be the
fast with
fast
that
paddle, which is probably why I like it. Playing against like the advanced guys like Jeff, like playing with Jeff the other morning, like he'll just speed up and I'm like, wow. Like I've got like a cut on my finger actually from when he hit my hand when I'm trying to block, but you got to be fast, you know? So I really like the C45 for that. But the 14 is not too far behind.
Yeah.
For an elongated paddle, I guess.
Yeah, it's not. It's, I think it strikes a good balance. And yeah, the 16 was it just did not feel maneuverable enough to me.
It is expensive. So they're like $280 if you buy through Joola. And most people know, and if not, you should know that most retailers or affiliates or whatever they're restricted by minimum advertised pricing. So they've got their map restrictions, but most of the time, like if you message them or whatever, they can give you some sort of deal. So we'll throw some links below for people that we know that have them. But otherwise, $280. It is a pretty penny. Worth it, you think, Brent?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think for our situation, which is we're preparing for a pro qualifier and we need a UPA certified paddle.
That's right. We're preparing. That's right.
I think it's probably one of the best UPA certified paddles if that's something that you need. I understand that the majority of people don't need a UPA certified paddle, not yet at least. So for that, in that scenario, I think it's worth the 280.
Yeah, agreed.
Outside of that scenario, I think 280's pushing it a bit because there's so many good USAP approved paddles. They're not going to have the power as the Perseus does.
Yeah.
But
is there anything like it? That's the question too. Is like, are you buying a one-of-a-kind paddle for $280? I'll answer that and say, yeah, I think so. Can't think of anything really that's like it.
Yeah, I mean, the 3S
there's
is
some
close.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Its predecessor, the 3S, is still good.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
just a little more hollow and a little less stable. At least that's how it felt to me.
But a little quicker.
Yeah, a little quicker. Yeah. Both can be difficult to control though, so that's something to take into account. If control is an issue, these do have a good bit of power, and the 14 especially has really good pop on it. What for the pop on the 14, would you rate that about the same as the C45, or do you think the C45 has the edge there?
So let me think. I thought it was a little. I'm trying to think back now. It was very close.
Yeah, it
was very close. But just based on I think my ability to control it and just like kind of hitting them side by side, I thought it was a little more poppy than the C45. But that also might have been a little bit of a perception combination of pop plus plow through. So like how quick it comes off the face, plus how fast like that velocity was. So like the recoil time plus the plow through gave me the perception that I might have been hitting a little harder with the 14. Yeah. With the Perseus Pro IV 14 than the C45, but I could get everywhere quicker with the C45.
Yeah,
so I missed
that's
less.
The trade-off. Yeah,
that's the trade-off. But
I will say that there have been some shots that I don't know how much like springboard effect these new Perseus have in them, and how, you know, I know with the mod especially, you could hit certain balls and it would just launch it, and you'd hit another one that felt like you hit it the same, and it would
be a little core crushy. Yeah, but could be core crushy, could be diving board. Yeah, it could be a little of either or. Yeah.
I don't get that nearly as much with these Perseus Pro 4s, but I do get it every now and then.
Like when you hit out towards the tip of it?
Mainly on a serve, when I hit it pretty high up on the paddle face, because I'm
hitting outside of your sweet spot zone. So
so it'll send it. It's mostly on the serves, and I think it's because I'm doing the PPA serve where you just hold the ball out and just drop it, and you contact it a little lower, and so you end up hitting it higher up on the paddle face, and so I think that's what's doing it. I'm hitting it a little too high on the paddle face and getting like foam instead of
like distally, like towards the end. You
towards
mean?
the end. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I'm getting more foam than core.
Yeah,
on that shot.
Sounds like Brent needs to drill a lot of things. Oh.
Maybe so.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about the Agassi too. So I think reviewers have probably touched a little less on this. Thanks. Reach around the computer there. So I haven't cut one of these open, and I haven't seen images myself, but apparently they're saying this has the same, whatever they're calling their flex foam core, whatever, as the Perseus Pro 4s. So they'll have a dual, outside perimeter of edge foam, and then, a second layer towards the top. And I imagine somewhere in there, they'll have that extra, little added layer of like inserted foam here. I imagine. I haven't cut it open, but it sounds like they're kind of leading us to believe that. And I would believe it, because I think, again, it lists for the same price, $280. You can probably get it for cheaper through, affiliates or whatever. We'll throw some links below, but it feels very comparable as far as the dampening feel. Obviously, kind of a strange shape.
An interesting shape.
Yeah, that I hear is custom requested by Mr. Agassi.
Okay.
But all in all, a very surprising paddle. I hate the way that it looks, but I like the way that it plays.
We're the opposite. I love the way it looks. I think the way it flares out is a little unique, and it's okay. But I love the bold red, white Agassi lettering. It really lives up to the rebel Agassi tennis player of the '90s that I grew up with.
And you would know that better than me, I guess.
Yeah.
You grew up more with tennis than I did.
I was Team Agassi. It was always him against Sampras. If you're around my age and grew up playing tennis in the '90s, it was the Battle of the American Men, which was Pistol Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi.
It's like a whole new world. I had no idea.
Man,
I didn't know about. Okay.
I played a little bit of tennis in my day. So,
okay. Brent was an okay tennis player. He's an okay pickleball player. So
college
transfers,
tennis, whatever.
Yeah.
But
what'd you think of it?
I thought it was really close to the Perseus 16. Honestly, I didn't feel a ton of difference. It felt more maneuverable than the Perseus 16, just because of its shape and its lower swing weight.
I agree.
Which I was a fan of. But yeah, it feels a lot like the Perseus 16 as far as the feel off the face, the power, the pop. They're all relatively close.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what comes out as more people get this paddle and they get the 14. But I thought it was a very, very comparable version of. Very comparable to the Perseus Pro 4, but a little bit lighter. Obviously, the different shape. I played a lot with the Neonic Flow Prime and Flow Prime X, which I don't imagine you probably haven't played a lot with those.
No.
But they're a hybrid shape, and they've got kind of just a handle up into like an ovally shape, which I really jived with for whatever reason. And this is like reminiscent of that. It's not exactly that. So I felt like I eased into this shape pretty well.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just the gross weight overall, the static weight, but maybe a little less plow through power than the Perseus Pro 4 16mm, but very comparable. And supposedly it's supposed to have the same, flex core that they advertise with the Pro 4, although I haven't cut it open, so I don't know myself, but they say it. So should be a Gen 3 core. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to get one of the 14s and see how it plays, because it seems like I do prefer the 14mm in the new Perseus
in this design.
So I would love to get my hands on a 14.
You've been kind of going more 14 lately.
I have, which
Strange.
is really new. Like I typically prefer a 16mm higher plow through, plusher feel, but I think that these Perseus, even the 14, achieved a nice softer feeling for me for a 14mm paddle.
It was very advanced of you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I know.
Moving up in the world. Yeah, they list for the same price. They're $280. Very, very comparable. So if you like the shape, I think, if you want a faster 16 than the Pro 4, that probably would be a little bit better for you.
Yeah.
But you get a lot of the same benefits, maybe just a little bit less plow through, in my opinion. But that's it.
Yeah, I think Brooke Buckner, the pro player, at least a couple of tournaments. I'm not sure about this last tournament because I didn't watch it, but she was playing with the Agassi.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to go and see if she's playing with it this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's doable. Yeah, it's of course CPA certified, so you can take that to whatever tournament, I guess. Cool. All right. Well, we have some first looks before we go into our rankings. So we got some new paddles from Gearbox. We have the Pro Ultimate Power. So this is their replacement for the PPE, which is being sunsetted, no longer be legal soon.
And that's elongated.
Still good. Yeah. So this is they have the elongated. I don't recall if they're going to make an Integra shape in this or not, but yeah, it still has the SST core. We just got this today, or very recently. So to be honest, I don't know all the differences. It looks the same. It feels the same. But we'll be testing it. So keep your eyes on the horizon for that. They also have two other paddles. The GX2s. These are new in a couple of ways. Different for Gearbox in a couple of ways. So they have an edge guard.
Mm-hmm.
As of late, Gearbox kind of makes those edgeless paddles. And they do discount codes. None of the others do. We don't have a release date, but whenever they do, sometime in April is what I hear. 10% off with discount codes. I don't know the price either. So I don't know if these are going to be like a budget paddle or another expensive paddle, kind of like what Gearbox does. But they have the normal elongated and then kind of the shorter, I believe, Integra shape in these. But anyways, yeah, don't know a ton about them yet. Other than they're calling this the SST 2.0 core. I don't know what that means. And the description of which is kind of not direct.
Vague.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like, oh, it's 2.0. Well, like, why is it 2.0? But I imagine it has the multiple densities of foam and some carbon fiber ribs, and maybe they tweaked something. I don't know, but we'll see. So we'll test those.
Nice. If I had to guess, if Gearbox is going to make a budget paddle, it would be something like that with the edge guard on there.
Yeah, like kind of along the lines of what people are more used to.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. We have the Engage Pursuit Pro 1 Innovations. Literally opened these like before we came in. These are a lot like the Pro ones that they already have. It's my understanding. So they have two thicknesses, 12.7 and 15.2. It's my understanding, and I can dive more into this, that the core, a lot of the stuff in the construction is the same of these, but they've weighted them differently. So they have some internal weighting in the handle and in the face to increase twist weight. They've tried to lower the balance point, so some tweaks. Okay. I don't totally know. I don't know how they play either.
So they're tweaks based on the paddles that they recently released, like the newish Pro ones.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
the newish Pro ones were mostly different shapes,
Okay.
which were the exact same iterations of the previous Pro ones, which they had an elongated of and etc. So these look a bit more square shaped. So I don't know what all goes into that. So we'll do some digging and some play testing
And some
and
hitting.
Yeah, and some hitting, and we'll come back with those. So, and with that, we'll go into our power paddle rankings.
Yes.
So we've got a handful of some of our most, what I'll say, the most popular power paddles that are out right now, or what I think some of the best are.
Yeah.
A lot of which are new releases. And I'll say, before we even say what we're including, we'll say what we're not.
Yeah.
So we're not going to include the Agassi. Great paddle. It's just very close to the Perseus Pro IV. So you can consider this maybe a slightly softer, more maneuverable version of the Perseus Pro IV. And for that, I think it'd be redundant to include this.
Yeah.
Also, we're not including the, we'll probably get some questions on this, not going to include the Flamingo, the Proton Flamingo. We've play tested that a bit. I've been putting more sessions on it. I don't consider it a power paddle. I don't know. You think it's a power paddle, Brent?
Yeah, I haven't put any more time on it after that initial hour or two that we played, and at that point, no, I wouldn't consider it a power paddle. I'd say all court to all court leaning power, but I think I guess owe it to the other people that have reviewed it and said that it kind of softens up and gets more power and more pop to see. But you've put in what?
Yeah, I've had several
5,
sessions.
6 hours.
Yeah,
on
I've
it?
had several full sessions with it, like deliberately swinging hard. I haven't felt any break in yet. If there's going to be one, which people like or don't like, whatever, I haven't found it yet.
Okay.
It's still kind of softish feeling to me. Muted in terms of vibrations, which is good or bad, depending on what you like. I think that's great, but it doesn't pack much punch for power or pop. It's okay.
Yeah.
But it needs more time. It needs more time. So right now it's not up in the level of pop or power with any of these paddles.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
So we're gonna go ahead and not include that, and that's why. But we have included And each of these has their own. They have their own pros, and they have their own like strengths.
Yes.
So it's good to differentiate so that people can kind of know what to choose from. So we have the Franklin C45.
Dustin's
This is my current main weapon of choice. Weapon emphasis right there. The Pro 4s, the Joola Pro 4s, both 14 and 16 millimeters. The 11624 Power Series. The PaddleTech TKOs and the Carbon True Foams, each of which we consider power paddles for one reason or another, whether it be power or plow through drive speed, or pop or plow through drive power.
Yeah.
Each have their own pros and cons, so we're going to rank them for the different things. Let's start with pop. In a recent review video, I've kind of ranked a lot of these in pop, so I'm going to let you go first on pop, Brent. I'll take the next one first.
Okay. I admittedly did not see that portion of your review. I swear I watched it, but
Brent didn't make his own review video of pop. Yeah, that's all right.
Must have just forgot.
Form your own opinions, Brent.
Okay, so the top pop. Let's see. So I would say it's pretty close between the Perseus 14 and the Franklin C45.
I think it's close, yes.
And it could be that the C45 feels like there's more pop off of it because it feels a little more stiff than the Perseus 14, but both have really good pop. Yeah. So I'm going to say, based on my perceived value of pop, C45 is number one, followed extremely close by the Perseus 14.
Okay.
And then quickly followed by the PaddleTech TKO 12.7. That one for me, it kind of shines more in the pop area to me versus like just raw power plow through.
Yeah, the 12.7 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the 12.7. Yes. Once you go up in thickness, the pop kind of levels off a bit.
It's a little less, and maybe plow through goes up. Yeah.
Yeah. So number three would be the TKO 12.7, and then I'm gonna say. It's really close between the Vapor and the Perseus 16. I'm going to say number 4 goes to the Vapor Power or the 11.624 Power line.
Yeah, series in general, yeah.
And then the Perseus 16, and then it's a pretty decent drop to the True Foam.
Yeah, the True Foam is not a pop
in terms of pop. Like all these others are pretty close in pop. There is some differentiation, but it's a big drop in my opinion.
Yeah, if it were based on pop, the True Foam would not be a power paddle for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm pretty closely in agreement with your list.
Yeah.
But I don't think you did a perfect job.
Right? Yeah, well, I'd never do.
I'll correct you. And so I think the 12.7 PaddleTech for me was the most poppy in terms of like the amount of suddenness that it came off the face and the speed in which the recoil came off. The combination of those two, I thought the 12.7 was the fastest. The fastest in both coming off and speed in which it came off. And then I do think it's really close between the 14 Pro 4, Perseus Pro 4 14, and the C45.
Yeah.
I thought maybe a combination of like the power, the velocity that it came off the 14, the Perseus Pro 4 14, and how quick it came off probably gave it the edge over the C45. I think the C45, it comes off a bit more suddenly, but it's not as much velocity. It's a quick response, but the ball moving was not quite as fast, which is probably a little bit more power. But anyways, for those reasons, I give the Pro 414 the edge, then the C45. Then I agree. I think I'm going to give the 11.624s the advantage in pop. But because of crispness, again, like the speed in which they come off the face, the 16 Pro 4, it grabs and launches really well, so it dwells. So if you want to pop in terms of like, it comes off fast, like it counters really fast, the 11.624s have the edge there, but the velocity that it comes off the Pro 4 is probably a bit higher because it trampolines a bit more. And then the True Foam's last.
Yeah, just the drop to the True Foam.
Yeah, it's a dampener.
It is. And you know, our difference in opinion on the pop, I think, is just indicative of how like subjective that pop measurements can be, especially when you start talking about different thicknesses of paddles. Because a 12.7 paddle is gonna like that. I think the pop on that is gonna feel a lot more crisp and like boom, it just goes right off the paddle. It doesn't dwell in.
You're
it
gonna
just
feel it in your hand more.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna sound more aggressive.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna get off that paddle face the quickest, and then but it might not have the highest velocity on it. Whereas like something like a Perseus 14 or a Perseus 16 that dwells a little more, it'll sink in and then launch it, but it doesn't feel like it's as poppy because it has that initial sink in.
Yeah, it's almost like there's kind of this middle ground between power, like drive speed, velocity, and pop, like suddenness. There's kind of this middle trampoline feel, you know, almost that kind of a mix of velocity and suddenness off the face.
Yeah.
That's adds an element of an intangibleness. Okay, let's do power. I'll go first on this one. And I mean that in terms of velocity on drives. When you swing big from the baseline, which paddle is going to get you the highest number?
Yeah, drive, serves, plow through. Yeah.
Yep. I think the 16 Pro 4, Perseus Pro 4 is going to take the cake here. It grabs, it throws. It's got the weight to plow through. Next, I still go with the 14 Pro 4. I think it's got the leverage. It's got a little bit grab and throw. I think it's still pretty full. It still plows through pretty well, even for a 14 millimeter paddle. But it's pretty close, I think, between that and maybe the 11.624s and paddle techs. It's not a sudden drop off.
Yeah.
But then I maybe give the advantage to maybe say like the 11.624 𝒂𝒊𝒏.
Yes.
Or a thicker paddle tech, like a 14.3. And then probably the true foams. Definitely the true foams.
Yeah.
Any true foam over the C45. The C45 is a quickie. It's a fast one in the hands, but it's not a plow through.
Yeah.
It's not a plow through paddle. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not like... Yeah, it's not like these.
Yeah, even weighted up. I have mine. Mine came in stock at 7.6 ounces, and it's weighted up to 8.4, and it still doesn't quite have the level of plow through that I want.
Yeah, it's more like if you want ninja speed.
Yeah,
for maneuverability, and you want to get where you need to be and counter fast, but take your time, slow, big drives. That's not its shining feature per se. Okay, then let's do. Let's go to...
I gotta do power.
What's that?
You just gonna skip my power ranking?
Oh, sure. All right, I guess we can hear Brent's power.
You're like, your opinion doesn't even matter.
We're like making my own review video over here. Brent just sits there this whole time.
Here.
I'm the host, Brent.
You are the host.
All right, what's your power,
You thought
Brent?
you were the co-host in the beginning. But
what's your power, Brent?
So for me, pretty much the same as you. The Perseus 16 is the top. Like you said, grabs it, launches it, has good static weight to it. Followed reasonably close by the Perseus 14. And then I think you said for number 3, 11.624 line.
You're doing good, Brent. You're doing good so far, yeah.
Thank you. I think what you said about the 𝒂𝒊𝒏 makes a lot of sense too, because that to me was the highest plow through power of the 11.624 line. So that's number 3. Number 4, carbon true foam has pretty good power.
Right,
I was surprised with it. To be as lower on the pop end, it has pretty decent power. And then for me, it'd be the paddle tech next, and then the Franklin at the end. That may have been what you said. I wasn't listening.
I think I switched to the true foam. Yeah, sure. I think I switched to the true foam and the paddle tech, but they're so close that it's like, meh. Yeah, they're both pretty high. They're both power level high.
Yes.
In drives.
Yeah.
Great. Let's do this is an interesting one because based off perception. Let's talk about perceived spin.
Okay.
Which of these paddles can you get the most shape on?
Okay. I think I said it in the initial.
Well, first let me cut you off. Is there any bad spin, or are they all good? Just for context.
I don't think there's anything bad. I honestly can't remember how well the TKO spins. That's the only not unknown, but just
so we'll put a question
can't
mark
remember
on
well
We'll
on the TKO.
We'll shine doubt on Brent's rankings for the paddle techs. Okay, all right. Now go ahead.
So when I initially talked about these true foams when they first came out in a few episodes back, I said that it allowed me to shape the ball better than almost any paddle that I could remember, and I pretty much still hold that opinion. So I would, as far as perceived spin, I would rank the True Foam, especially the one shape, as the elongated, pretty high on the spin. So I'd rank that number 1 for perceived spin, and then I'd say the Perseus 16, the Perseus 14 is next at number 3.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm gonna leave out the paddle text. I really can't remember on that one, so that's just gonna, or I'll put it at the bottom. I don't know.
Defaults to last. Okay.
I will say then the Franklin for spin, and then last would be the 11.624
okay.
line.
Well, I agree with your 11.624 last. And not that it's bad. It's just that for me, like the crispness of the pop, it's just kind of hard to like dial in the spin with just the feel there. Still good spin, just like some of these are pretty elite level spin, I'd say.
Yeah. Again, besides the one that I can't remember, none of these are bad at spin.
Yeah, well, sorry. I'd like to get last for that.
You get a 0 because I can't remember.
I suppose. I think like perceived spin has a lot to do with like at the baseline if you're spinning well on drives, but plus like at the net. Maneuverability is a big thing. So I've been able to put the most shape on the C45, probably because you can whip it around so easy. Plus, it has enough dwell time for 14.
Now, are we talking?
Get it on there.
Are we talking like drive, spin, and both. Shape? Or are we talking about
both?
Okay,
both. Yeah, I mean, not power, not drive power for sure. Right. But like, I think I can put the best form on there. Way better than yours with the C45.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because it's a 14. Usually 16s will grab and spin a little better. That's perception, I suppose.
Yeah, I did not feel that on the Franklin. So you're probably wrong, but anyways,
that's how it goes, I guess. Then the 16 millimeter Pro 4 was definitely next, and then I think the 14 Pro 4 is probably next. It grabs and throws well. Oh,
you put my True Foam down at
actually
4?
I take that back. Nope. I missed that. No, sorry.
Okay.
I think it's 3. Ooh, I think it's close to 3. But if man.
No, now we confused him, folks. We've confused him.
I'm the reviewer, Brent. I'm the host. Oh gosh.
We're just gonna edit all of this and come back.
Crap out. Okay, I'll just stick to my guns and put the True Foams at 3, but it's so high. But they spin really well, I think, and it's a fine 3. It's a fine 3. And then 4, I would go the 14 millimeter Perseus Pro 4. Then the paddle tech Brent, they're not bad.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the Gen 1 grabbish.
That's good to hear.
Feel.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the 11.624s, which just they just have a crisper pop that's hard to grab the dwell. To spin with.
But I'd say all of these are likely over 2,000 RPMs.
For sure. Yeah,
which
no
is
question about it.
Very good.
Yeah, if we hit 10 times, we'd hit at least 7 over 2,000.
Yeah.
I would.
And I think David from Tickle My Pickle had it was like he said it was a hot take a few weeks ago on either a pod or one of his reviews, but like the perceived spin and like what the average pickleball player is able to get out of a paddle for spin is probably a lot lower than they think, and it's probably not as important of a metric as you should be worried about.
I agree. It is probably lower than people think based on like trying to put maximum freaking spin and seeing like the best serves I can put on, what RPMs I get. I'm like, people are probably thinking that they're hitting 2,500 RPM shots, or
2,500 RPMs,
or even 2,000. 2,000 RPM shots when they're not.
Because like I come from tennis. I had a whippy forehand in tennis, and when we did that Perseus 16 RPM challenge where I beat you,
freaking barely, gosh dang it,
I was like Western grip, full flick, and I was still getting like 2,300 RPMs, like as much as I could. Like it was going.
Seen some of the crappy shots that Brent. He was lucky to scrape away that win.
And like that was the max that I could do was I think I hit like 2,350 one time.
Yeah,
but that's like that you're not really gonna see that in everyday gameplay.
You're not. Yeah, so above 2,000 is good.
Yeah.
We'll say. Probably the takeaway there. Okay. Let's do sweet spot. Let's talk sweet spot size. Who went first last time? Me? You?
You went first last time.
Okay.
No.
I'll go first.
Wait.
You go first.
No, I think.
I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
I can go first.
Yeah,
all right.
You're the host.
Neither of us have thought about this ahead of time.
We haven't,
okay,
no.
I can't speak for Brent, but
No, I haven't.
okay. Well, it's between two easily for me, like that are far above the rest, and it's the 16mm Perseus Pro IV and the True Foams.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the True Foams. The True Foam 2 for sure.
Okay.
And you can think of sweet spot in terms of vibration dampening and like how well it has propulsion off of the face, like its response, right? There's kind of two ways to think of that. And a combination of those, I think the True Foam Genesis 2 is probably best, followed by the 16mm Perseus Pro IV, then maybe the 14mm Perseus Pro IV, and we're talking unweighted.
Okay.
Then maybe
Unweighted.
the Huarache Powers, the Franklin C45, and then the Paddle Techs.
Yeah. Paddle Tech's at the bottom.
The Paddle Techs and the Franklin C45s need weight. They must have weight. And then it changes the game, and then things are getting a bit more even.
Yeah.
But stock, that's how they roll,
Well,
I think.
Weighted, what is your opinion of the Franklin C45 sweet spot and the Paddle Tech sweet
Yeah,
spot?
good question. Paddle Tech is decent. It's okay. I don't think it extends beyond the middle too well. Probably there's just not enough foam. I don't know. Gen 1 construction is probably a little bit lacking there, but it's okay. I think the 14mm C45 is vastly improved with weight. I think we're getting into like good sweet spot, not great.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Would you rank the C45 over the Paddle Tech with weight as far as sweet spot?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I already did. Stock I rated over, didn't
Oh,
I?
that's right. Yeah, you did.
Okay, so then easy yes. I think with weight, I would rate it better than the 11624 Powers. I would rate it maybe the same-ish as the 14mm Pro 4.
Okay.
With weight here, no weight there. I didn't play with the Pro 4 14 with weight. I played with that stock. So that's how I go. What do you think, Brent?
I think we differ a lot here, actually.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, prepare to hear some wrong stuff, I guess.
Let's see. Let's see. So out of all these, I'd say my top would be, I'd say the Perseus 16 was of these is the best sweet spot.
Okay.
Followed closely by the 14.
Pro Force for the win for Brent. Okay.
Yeah, I like the foam. The foam added. I think I'm more of a less feedback is a big sweet spot to me versus like the same velocity around the edges is the sweet spot. So I think I'm more in the camp of how it feels.
Feedback type
the feedback.
Spot. Gotcha.
So I'd say Perseus 16, then Perseus 14, then 11624, especially the Vapor. I thought I had good sweet spot.
Then that.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. Yep. Wow, ahead of the True Foam, even?
Ahead of the True Foam. Then the True Foam after the Vapor.
Jeez, all right.
Yep. And then if we're talking unweighted, God, the Franklin and the Paddle Tech are both bad in my opinion. Sweet spot, unweighted.
It is so susceptible to that feel of the paddle without weight.
It is. So unweighted, I guess I still give the edge to the Franklin over the Paddle Tech 12.7. Weighted, I probably do still give the edge, even weighted, to the C45 over the 12.7 TKO, mainly because I hit center to high center on most of my paddles.
Yeah.
That high center on a TKO 12.7 feels not good, even with weight.
The high spot is so bad on the TKOs.
It just kind of dies.
That's a differentiator. I said that in a review too.
Yeah.
That's a big separator in stability and sweet spot between the two. Would you say that the lower end of your sweet spots, like the C45, the Franklin, etc., would you call them bad? With or without weight?
Without weight, I would say C45 and the 12.7 TKO are
unbearable.
bad.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of, for different reasons. Unweighted Franklin, there's a lot of feedback, and the twist weight is so low that it just feels bad. the TKO doesn't really feel that bad as far as like off-center shots. It's the loss in velocity. So I know I just said I was more of like how it feels. It correlates more to sweet spot.
Flopper Magoo over there, good gravy.
But because I hit so high on the paddle and it dies up here, I really notice it then. I typically don't notice when the velocity drops a little bit when you hit off center, but this just drops so much when you hit off center up high that I notice it.
I think the TKOs are bad. I would call them bad in sweet spots.
Weighted, not terrible, but not great. Good, I think is what you called them with weight.
Sufficient.
Yes.
Sufficient is probably accurate. Okay. And then this probably goes along with that, but maybe let's just say which of these, what we consider to be power paddles. So let's do control, and then let's just talk, we'll talk about overall value, and we'll call it a wraps.
Okay.
So let's do, which of these are the easiest to control? Did I go? I went first last time.
You did.
You go first this time.
You're going to give me the power paddles and ask me which ones are
Brent.
the easiest to control.
Just kind of... Yep. This is what people need to know.
Yikes. That's a tough one.
I'll say that I'm cutting a lot because Brent is taking for freaking ever to decide.
Brent did not review the list before he came here. So, as far as control of power paddles, which are opposite ends of the spectrum, but we're going to try to rate them in controllability anyways. I'm going to say probably the easiest one for me to control was likely the True Foam, because it has the lowest amount of pop. So to me, easier to control usually means lower on the pop scale, or at least just softer feeling. Typically, but these Perseus are throwing me off. So probably the easiest to control would be this guy here, the carbon True Foam, and then I would say the Perseus 16, the Perseus 14, which is an anomaly, I know, and doesn't follow my normal thing because it is a higher pop. But I'm going to put the Perseus 14 as number 3. I will put the 11624 line at number 4.
Wow. Okay.
And then C45 and Paddle Tech.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. That one was hard for me. That one was tough.
Was really hard for Brent. Man. Wow. Brent has some weird takes on control too. He thinks the Ripple is ultra easy to control.
I did, man.
Well, that's but like if you can swing it a particular way to where a paddle that has that kind of an interesting pop can be easy to control for some people.
Yeah.
Not me. Some people though.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Some people that are like, pushing 5.5 dupers, it's easy to control.
Brent's been working really hard to up his duper. He has some weird takes on controllability, but I do agree with your top choice. I think with the caveat that the True Foam is the easiest to control, except for if you're going between that and other paddles.
True.
It's got such a unique feel that like it's hard to go from that to something else or from something else to that right away and have it dialed in. But if you're playing with that regularly, I think it's by far the easiest to control of all these. Then I do think it's probably the Perseus 16 Pro 4. And then the C45 for me, followed by the Perseus 14 Pro 4, then the Vapor Power, then the Paddle Techs. And I think it's probably follows a correlation for me of dwell time. I think if I'm thinking like the things that have the most dwell time and maybe plushness, I don't know, but they're all generally kind of plush-ish feeling.
Yeah.
The more a paddle dwells and the less it recoils quickly, I think the easier it is for me to control. So it probably follows that pattern for me.
That wasn't so far off on my list. There was some...
It was different. Whatever was different, but... don't listen to Brent. But, okay. Let's just pick... let's pick your best and worst overall value here. Ooh. If you're thinking, okay, I want a great power paddle.
Yep.
And I want to get the most bang for my buck. Oh, yeah. It could be a lot, it could be a little as far as what you're going to get out of it. What would you pick?
I mean, I feel like the clear winner here is the 11624 as far as value goes. I think it's the only sub $200 paddle on this table right now.
Yes, I have a caveat to that. But yes, I have a maybe not reason for that because I was thinking about this. But yes, go on. Clearly, it's the cheapest of all of these.
It is, and it's a great paddle.
It is. Like, it hangs very well with these.
It does. It does. Like this is what 170 before code. The
Something
Vapor,
like that. Yeah.
155 with code, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Well, any of the powers from 11.624 are around that price, and they're all such great values.
They are. The durability is pretty pristine.
Seems
too,
to be
from
really
what we've
good.
seen,
Yeah, we've had a lot of hours. We've had friends with a lot of hours put in, and
Yep.
no real changes. And the core that you cut open looked
It's very
pristine.
good. It's very crisp. I haven't heard, and it'll happen. It will, because it always will. But I haven't heard of a single core crush yet.
Yeah.
And they've been on the streets for a while. You should have heard of some.
Yeah.
By now, especially with the Discord that they have so active. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Worst value.
That to me, that's the clear choice for value. And I think followed pretty closely by the C45.
For best or worst value?
Best value.
Oh, okay. So you're getting your top 2 best values.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, okay. Because it's like just north of 200.
Because there was an easy choice.
Yeah,
it's
that is the
only
easy
sub
choice.
200.
It
And
is.
if you
It
go
really is.
above that, then I think the Franklin, with what it brings to the table and how good of a paddle that is, I think it's 230 before code. And
yeah, it's like 207 or something after. I forget the exact before code.
I think that's pretty reasonable for,
yeah, because
the
these are like
performance.
it's like 280 unless you find an affiliate or a distributor or something that'll go lower. For the Pro 4s, the paddle techs are like, again, 250, 260, something like that, unless you can find a distributor that go lower. And then the true, I forget even what the true foams are at this point, but they're north of 200 somewhere.
Yeah, they are.
I think if I'm memory serves me right, they're somewhere around 225, which isn't bad. Clearly, the 11.624 Power Series is like the best. If I'm going to say, hey, get a power paddle and get the most for your money, but it's the only one on this whole table that is not UPAA certified. If you care,
It's true. If you care,
if you're a person who cares,
that's
and you
a
wanna play
small sliver.
It is.
of the audience. Too.
It is. Yeah, it is. So if you care about that, that's not the one. But otherwise, clearly the best bang for your buck there. It's
for sure.
Nothing's even within $50 of that.
Yeah. What was the surprise you were going to throw at me? What were you?
That was it. Yeah, just that it was not a surprise. It was just that it's not UPA.
Oh,
certified.
okay.
Yeah, that's
I
just the thing.
thought you were going to say like,
everything else here is.
The Perseus is the best value, and I was like, how?
No,
what?
it's probably the worst value. I think.
Probably the worst value.
It's good, but it's kind of that like you pay a lot for a little improvement. I think. And then
even though I might be maining the Perseus 14 for at least a little while,
Brent will pay the lot for a little improvement. Yeah, it's either then between the C45 and the True Foam, for different reasons. Yeah, the all foam core of the True Foam and the perceived longevity,
durability.
Perceived durability is big, and then the maneuverability, the pop, my favorite paddle is the C45. So at both of them, a little 200 or just a little bit above. That's pretty good. It's not cheap, but yeah, it's still there. I think it's still worth it for those two. You're pushing it with the others.
You are, yeah. And,
for sure pushing it with the Perseus ones.
You are. I was just thinking, like, all right, if I main this Perseus 14 and I want a backup, do I pay $280 for backup? Because like obviously we get sent paddles to review for no charge. But it's
that's
like
my 14 though. Brent's gonna buy
that. Is I was gonna beg you to let me use this thing. So yeah, that was what I was running through. I was like, man, if I want another one just as a backup, do I drop $280 on this?
Yeah, if you had to pay your own money. Yeah,
that's rough, man.
That's the toughest one.
That might make me go more towards like the Franklin C45 because they're close for me as far as like what I think I play best with. But you're looking at almost $80 cheaper for a C45.
That's
over
a big
Perseus.
deal. Yeah. It is. Any closing thoughts on these paddles, Brent?
I like where the power line currently is. Yeah. I think I'm okay with these new Pro 4s as far as power and pop goes. I think I'm okay with the 3Ss, but if they're not broken. But for a while there, with the broken mods, with the ripples, things were getting a little ridiculous.
It was freaking reasonable. And people would know and they wouldn't care either. Like people in our group even that we go and you like freaking feel their core and they're just like, meh. But
I like it.
I look at this table actually. I've cut open every single one of these paddles: the Pro 4s, the C45s, the Vapors, the Paddle Techs, the True Foams, and the True Foam doesn't have honeycomb, but none of these are using compressed cores, so their likelihood of core crushing is low. I think the power that you feel on the other end of the net is reasonable. Yeah, it's high. Yeah. It is, but it's not undoable.
Right.
It's these are good level of power. I think if we stay here, we'll be dealing with a lot of good manageable power that that people can kind of choose, like, okay, I like power, I like all-core, I like whatever, and you're not going to just run away with mods smashing people's faces.
Yeah, it's been so nice to see the decrease in the amount of mods and ripples across the net.
Yep.
Mainly Perry's ripple. I'm glad that's gone.
Yeah, eat it, Perry.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And I mean, there's still some mods around because they're technically legal until what, July or something. That can't get here soon enough. But yeah, I'm fine with the power level and pop level of all of these.
Yeah, I
think they're fair.
Okay. All right, I think that's good for today then.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for what is the 11th episode of the PBMED podcast. I am indeed the host, Dustin, and I was joined by the co-host, Brent.
That's me.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.